Remember that when you communicate and when you have understanding, you create something called harmony. And we talked about the fantastic equation, which is understanding, knowledge, and communication, which is specifically what we humans have wonderfully, equals harmony. And so how do you have harmony in your relationships and retain the attraction in the relationship? And we talked about how one of the prerequisites so that your partner remains attracted to you, if it's a feminine individual, she requires 4 traits that you must demonstrate if you're a man or if you're a masculine individual. If you're a feminine individual, we talked about the 5 things that you must demonstrate, the 5 traits that you must demonstrate so that your masculine counterpart can remain attracted to you. Now, when I say masculine and feminine, I don't just only necessarily mean male and female, but for all intents and purposes for this video, that's what I'm going to use it as. But you could have a male configuration with a feminine energy and have somebody who is either a male or female configuration with a feminine energy. And so before I was cut off yesterday, we were talking about how you can communicate one of the 4 or one of the 5 if you're female attractive traits for your partner, and that is called appreciation for the other sex, for your counterpart. In other words, if you're a female with a male, you would communicate appreciation for men. You must love and appreciate men. If you're a man, you must love and appreciate women. Now remember how we talked about appreciation, meaning it's not being thankful that you're with a woman or being thankful that you're with a man. Appreciation isn't being thankful. Appreciation is recognizing the full worth and value of something. So in other words, when you appreciate something, you understand it. When you appreciate men or when you appreciate women, you understand men, you understand women. And the only way you can appreciate men and women is when you have the body of knowledge that goes along with that. Do you understand? So you must, number 1, understand men and women more. And the tremendous suffering that you're feeling when it comes to relationships, that's why most people are just clawing at the dark when it comes to relationships, because they don't have understanding. They don't have much understanding. Not only that, is because also they don't have much understanding about themselves and they don't have much communication skills, which is why we created the Great Relationships University. Go to www.greatrelationshipsu.com. We have a full course, 12 plus hours of video training on communication and relationships management. And so remember, better communication and better understanding, better appreciation in essence, equals harmony. And you can communicate different aspects in your relationship. For example, you can communicate your wants, likes, and desires so that your partner can appreciate it better and like it and facilitate it better. You understand? When you communicate your wants, likes, and desires, they know what you want, like, and desire. And in essence, that tells them what you don't like, want, and desire. You can also specifically communicate what you don't like, boundaries. The second thing you can communicate is expectations. What you expect in a relationship, what you can expect of that person. That's a whole different topic. The third thing I would like you to communicate, and it's important to communicate in your relationship, is your nature. Your nature. Now, for you to understand your nature, you have to study your nature. You have to study it because it's a big body of knowledge which most people don't understand. In other words, women don't understand their nature. They think they know themselves, but if you haven't gone onto sociobiology or evolutionary psychology, you're only skimming the surface of what your true nature is. If you're a man, you don't understand your nature. So I want you to study it. How do you study it? Number one, get my book, Relationships 101. It's on Amazon. And number two, I want you to join greatrelationshipsyou.com. There's a four and a half hour course just on relationships there and the dynamic between men and women. So how do I communicate? What does it look like to begin to communicate your nature? So when I meet a woman, because I'm into women and I love and adore women, as you can tell, when I meet a woman, I communicate with them right away, and I talk about how interesting it is, how men and women are, and how men and women interrelate. And I talk about the double bind that women are in. And the double bind, I can't go into it now because it's way longer than 10 minutes, but it's something I talk about in my book. So I go about the double bind, how interesting it is that women in this society are in a double bind. They find themselves in a cartel, in a sexual cartel that they don't know they're in. But it's communicated wordlessly via their peers and via the media. And it goes a little something like this. I go into that when I meet somebody because I'm completely direct. I communicate outright what I'm about, and they know exactly what I'm about. They know exactly what they're getting into if they'd like to be in bed with me, so to speak. The other thing I talk about are my rules of relationships. The reason I have those rules is to create harmony. Rules create happiness. Some people say rules are meant to not be followed. But rules create, the reason why you can go out there and walk around and not be murdered is because there are rules. Do you understand? And so you know how yesterday we talked about your nature as a fundamental. One of the things that's a tremendous misunderstanding with men and women is the way in which they communicate. And I'll revisit that here because I can elaborate a little bit further since I have a little bit more time. When you're a baby, people who have a masculine tendency and people who have feminine tendency tend to demonstrate it by how they behave and how they play. Play is a very human nature thing. And most people don't play because they've lost that part of themselves which creates a tremendous amount of happiness, satisfaction, and joy. Get yourself, I'll talk about it in a different video, but get yourself in a state of play. If you watch any of my videos, you recognize that although it sounds tremendously serious, because the topics are very serious and very important, I don't take it that seriously. I play. And if you know me well enough, I play a lot. So, when you were a kid, you play with specific things. Men or masculine individuals tend to play with things that are goal-oriented or action-oriented, such as action figures, or things that have missions like tanks and toys and things that have a point to them. Women, on the other hand, doesn't play in that way. Women play with dolls. Dolls that doesn't have a point. The only point of having a doll is to have no point, but merely to communicate, to connect. So you have now your nature, the fundamental basis of your nature, and it goes all the way up to your adulthood. And if you recognize it, you will catch it. And when you catch it, you can communicate it. And when you communicate to your beloved that, hey baby, I want you to understand something. I want you to understand my nature. I want to communicate it with you so that you can appreciate it about me. I am a man and you're a woman, and that's a fantastic configuration. It's the thing that creates the chemistry between us. And the thing about being men and women that I've come to understand, is that I have a male brain and you have a female brain. That's amazing. Because I have a male configurated brain, I have a less predisposition to communicate merely to connect. My male configurated brain is always seeking for a point. What's the point in this? What's the point in this communication? What's the point in this communication? And so you'll find that I'll very seldom communicate just to communicate and just to connect. And you'll have to forgive that about me, is because I have a male configurated brain. I'm very goal-oriented and direction-oriented. What's the direction here? What's the point here? Where are we going with this? Now, the thing about you is that this thing is amazing is you have a female brain, and I'm really attracted to females, to feminine individuals. And I want you to be as feminine as you can, as you like, as you want. And I want you to be completely you, the complete feminine you. And you can trust me to be masculine. And I love to trust you to be feminine. And because you're feminine, you'll communicate merely to connect without any point. And just because you have no point in communicating doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. You're communicating to connect, and that's the point. Now, oftentimes, I'm going to communicate, I'm going to look for a point. And I'm going to be severely disinterested in communicating when there's no point. Because I have a male configuration brain. And we're severely not interested in things which doesn't have direction, doesn't have a point. So I want you to trust me to be me. I want you to trust me to be a male. I want you to trust me to be masculine. And because you trust me to be masculine, you'll understand when I find disinterest in communicating merely to connect. I'll do my best, I promise. Because I love you. And I will understand when you're trying to communicate, you're only merely trying to communicate just to connect, and there's no point, and I'll do my best. And I hope that we appreciate each other, that we love each other, and that's a fantastic thing about male and female. And that's one of the ways I communicate. That's what it looks like to communicate. The nature of our communication. Because the tremendous source of your problem in your relationship right now is that. There's a lot more about the nature that you don't understand. So I really encourage you to go Amazon and get the book Relationships 101 by Rowan John. And join our course, Great Relationships University. Learn how to communicate better and have better relationship management. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.